Hey everybody, it's been a while and I haven't uploaded any videos. Still alive. Today I wanted to talk about the importance of not being snobby with the materials that you use when you're learning a language. And I've been guilty of this myself, and I think that now, from after having learned Spanish, I'm still learning Spanish, but after having learned Spanish and Portuguese, um, I think that it's really, really important to not focus too much on uh, utilizing resources from a given dialect or a given way of speech. For example, European Spanish versus Latin American Spanish, Madrid Spanish versus Mexican Spanish, those types of things. I don't think that should be the major priority when you're learning the language, but rather you should focus on finding the best resources and the most comprehensible resources, regardless of the accent. Obviously, there will be differences in how people speak in different regions. This is especially the case in European versus Brazilian Portuguese. But the most important thing isn't to focus on, oh, I need to find this podcast or this book from this region because this is the Spanish that I ultimately want to learn. I mean, this is important as you proceed in the language. But I think that at an earlier point in the language, the most important thing is just being able to communicate. So I started thinking about this because right now I've encountered a dearth of resources for me to continue learning European Portuguese. That is, sometimes it's hard to find workbooks, podcasts. I found like maybe 3 or 4 podcasts that I like in European Portuguese after like scouring the internet. And it's I really like European Portuguese and I do want to focus on it, but I've realized that in order for me to proceed in the language itself, that is, whether it be Brazilian or European, just Portuguese, period, I probably need to use the best resource in the language, and probably one of the best resources for Brazilian Portuguese is this grammar book, Modern Brazilian Grammar, and I've read over it. It helped me a lot with my European Portuguese. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of important differences, but I think that right now what I need is just whatever practice I can get in Portuguese, period. And even though my ultimate goal is to learn Portuguese with a Lisbon accent, I'm still going to use the Modern Brazilian workbook and grammar because that's the best resource that I can find. I mean, I've looked for European Portuguese workbooks. I can't find anything on Amazon. And I think it's really important just to remember that the best resources may fall outside of the range of whatever accent you ultimately want to learn. But another example, since the very beginning, I always wanted to learn European Spanish, Castilian Spanish. And ever since I listened to my first Spanish hip-hop. Nevertheless, I decided to, sorry about the microwave, I decided to study in Mexico before studying in Spain. Why? Because I felt that, well, after having spent a lot of summers in Mexico with my family, I just felt that it would be like a very nice, warm place for me to first learn my Spanish before jumping into a big European city, for example. And I never regretted my decision. Learning Spanish and the grammar and how to communicate and everything first in Mexico and then changing the accent when I moved to Spain, I think was a great decision because honestly, I do feel that Mexicans have a very special and kind and caring attitude towards language learners, at least in Michoacan, Morelia, where I studied. So even though my ultimate goal was to learn European Portuguese, I still chose what was the best option. Instead of going straight to Spain, which I could have also done that, I decided to take a summer study abroad program in Mexico because I thought that might be the best environment for me to promote the growth of my Spanish. So another example, there's a book called Breaking Out of Beginner Spanish, which I really, really like. It's written by an American who learned how to speak Mexican Spanish, and basically the entire book is about telling you how you can take your Spanish to the next level. with all of these little phrases, how verbs are used, because you can look in a dictionary, but it really helps to have an explanation in English of how every verb, every common verb is used. And he also talks about pause words like bueno, pues, andale, right? And of course, this is written from the perspective of an American who learned Mexican Spanish, but it's been tremendously useful for me in Spanish in general. So you can take these things from different workbooks and different regions, and even though it's might be in a dialect that is not your ultimate goal, if it's the best resource for you, you should use it. Don't be a snob. That's the most important thing. Don't be a snob when you're learning languages. Take whatever is the best resource for you at a given time. Don't be a snob. I know that European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese are very different, but honestly, it's a lot harder to chat with European people from Portugal because of the time difference. So I often find myself chatting with Brazilians. I love the Brazilian accent as well. And B, there's just less resources in European Portuguese here in the United States. So use whatever resources are the best for you. Don't worry about the accent and things like that. I think that for learning the accent, the best thing you can do is to first get a strong foundation in the language, and then start listening to a lot of podcasts from the given accent or whatever. But for building the foundation in a language, don't even worry about what region resources you're using. Just use the best resources, the resources with the highest reviews. Go to Amazon, go to iTunes Store, and there's a bunch of reviews for every podcast or workbook, etc. And well, that's my advice. Hopefully it was useful. Don't be a snob. Use the best resources you could find. Okay, bye guys.